It's that time of year again, a new DLC has been added and the world map is getting unsustainable. Hello everyone and welcome back, and I've been playing around with Bashiva in the Kingdom of Beasts, where I truly believe she should have started. A different start position where it's further enough away from other cafe factions that you get a different experience. That's obviously not the topic for today, it's more along the lines of this map is getting way too filled out, and with the rumors going around about potential future DLCs, it's going to be a pretty big problem. We need to talk about this quite a lot, and hopefully Creative Assembly will listen, because what they've been doing so far is not making things better. Recently in the game files, there have been some details regarding a potential Marienburg DLC and Monkey King DLC. All very exciting, considering that Marienburg, we know, was kinda planned for a DLC in Warhammer 1, but nothing really came of it, and Monkey King is one of the most anticipated characters that a lot of people have been waiting for. Alongside that, we do have the Lords of the End Times, which we know is going to have 4 paid Legendary Lords and 1 FLC Legendary Lord. So that takes us all the way up to 7 new characters, and there's 100+ characters already in game. There have of course been rumors of other character packs and DLCs, especially as Creative Assembly have said that they've still got a lot of plans for Warhammer 3. That remains to be seen, of course, but that does mean that more characters, more congestion, less minor factions, and a legendary lord at a stone's throw constantly. You can see it here with the map being updated for 8.0. There is a legendary lord everywhere. There's very few spots where some breathing room can happen, and the problem here is obviously Creative Assembly can't just scale the map up. It's a situation here where game design has been kind of limited. Creative Assembly, I guess, we're trying to go for the most optimal way for Immortal Empires. And it's great, don't get me wrong, I love this map. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. But as more and more lords keep getting added in, and we can make pretty educated assumptions as where others are going to go in, it's turning worse and worse into a meat grinder. We had this problem with Lustria back in Warhammer 2, but it's all over the world now. And there are things that Creative Assembly can do about that. We'll talk about that in a little second. But it's more talking about the potential future as it stands. So if we look at Marienburg, well, it's likely going to be in Marienburg. And the problem there is it's very congested. Just by zooming out a little bit, you'll be dealing with Be'lakor coming straight for you because of anti-player bias. You've got the Beastmen, and you've got a minor orc faction over there, which at least gives you a bit of spot to expand. But then you've got the Empire, you've got Bretonnia, the Empire will call friends, and then likely Boris. It's pretty much expected for Boris to be in Midland. You're basically fighting with natural allies just for a basic spot, which is always expected. Game design for Total War is, you know, you'll have to fight others just to kind of expand. And I mean, it's not going to be too much of a problem for Boris, because at the end of the day, Boris is going to have the Confederation mechanics, assumedly so, right? Like, it's baked into the Empire mechanics to be able to confederate the others. But Marienburg obviously doesn't have that, because Marienburg is independent from the Empire, unless they just kind of cheapen it out. But I'd imagine that Marienburg would have to act very differently and not have the Confederation, because they are, of course, their own state and have been since the end of the Great War. This wouldn't be too much of a problem if climate was handled a little bit better in Warhammer 3, or just in Total War in general, but obviously, like I said, Be'lakor comes for you. Wulfric more often than not stays in Norska, and he will come down for you too, but you can't really incentivize yourself to go up north to Norska because of the really bad climate, so your expansion is severely limited. I'm not going to lie to you, I also did not expect a Marienburg DLC. If it happens, I mean, at this point we don't know if it's actually going to happen. It's just Creative Assembly flirting with ideas and leaving game files there. But they did have Miao Yin voice, so it kind of feels like it. But I kind of was hoping for, well, a Famir DLC. Yes, I know, it's another problem for the Empire, but it would have been something completely different at least. What's kind of got me worried here is the potential of a Monkey King DLC. So, we found them in the game files. That's kind of interesting. Well, the diplomacy lines at least. But the problem here is Creative Assembly haven't been doing map expansions properly. With the last 2 map expansions being, well, that little area that was instantly added in for sale, and then with Dekala, right? It's not a lot. 1 new set of settlements is not a map expansion. It's just placing an area for a character. The areas of the Mountains of Heaven, as we can see, aren't really large, right? That's likely going to be one full province, or maybe two if Creative Assembly can be smart about it, maybe adding in a gate or something, but it's not big enough for a full area. And this kind of sucks because already there are multiple characters, especially from the same kind of alignment from the very beginning. Gelt is going to have trouble expanding if he's going to have to deal with that too. Obviously, you've got Dakala, you've got Nakai, you've got Zhao Ming. It's a very big clusterfuck when it comes to Cafe. Well, it's actually with the whole world, and there's loads of areas that are going to be added in just to flesh out the world a little bit more. But I'm looking at it this way. With just 2 potential characters, this is not even counting the end times, it's going to get really brutal. The fact is, there should be minor factions for you to kill over and just like confederate into or the rest, but we're playing Legendary Lord hopping. And again, this is something that Creative Assembly might have not seen in the past. Hindsight is, of course, 2020. I mean, let's go back to the world map. Like I said, it looks pretty damn silly, which, I mean, it's expected, right? This game series was always going to be a DLC farm, and it has been. Well, not so much during Warhammer 3. They could have actually milked this a little bit better, but mistakes happen. It does feel very, very congested. And what we're going to do now is jump into some hypotheticals, given, like, leaks and rumors and the rest, right? Now I'm going for assumptions for a lot of these lords, but yeah, I mean, this kind of makes sense in the future. We'll work our way downwards. If the Glotkin gets added in for the end times, which, I mean, I assume so at this point, they're a big part, and Nurgle is a big part of the end times. Lore-wise, they should be in Norska. I mean, I don't like that idea because it's like really close to so many other Chaos factions. But right in the border of the Sea of Claws is pretty much where they turn and they start going down into Nordland, unless they start in Nordland. But that's way too close to Festus, and I don't think we need more problems inside the Empire directly. Then obviously Boris and Midland, I'd expect, Marienburg and Marienburg. The Moot, I'm putting Halflings as a potential character pack DLC because obviously what's happened with Bashiva, and we have seen Rich mention the Halflings quite a lot. Then Neferata in the Silver Pinnacle, because it makes sense there. Dogs of War, I think might only be 1 Legendary Lord. We've seen 2 characters named in the game files before, Borgio the Besieger and Lucarezia Belladonna, but Borgio, yeah, you know, in Miragliano, Lucarezia is supposed to be Nestalia, but that's way too close to 2 other characters. It would be a massive issue. I don't know what could happen with the Dogs of War. Like, I could imagine another character, but the problem is, where I'd imagine them is where Wolfric kind of starts now. Well, his starting choice. Let's continue. Nagash, I'm expecting in Nagash's are, just lore-wise, that's where he reforms his body. The Monkey King in the Mountains of Heaven, there's like no logo that can represents that, so I went with just a basic monkey. And Thankful, I mean, anywhere it works, I guess. I'm going down there, like, pure assumption. We don't know anything about this DLC in the future, by the way. It's just like pure assumption, because they've gone with the whole Thankful summon Skarbrand start for Skarbrand. So I guess it makes sense to have him close to Skarbrand. Realistically, I'm going to say it. I feel like this is the last of the DLCs that we'll ever get. If all this comes to pass, this is effectively, what, 4 DLCs? And we're still missing like quite a few iconic characters for all different factions. Teto Echo, well, obviously Yin Yin and Li Dao don't really count as iconic, but I don't see them putting Li Dao in the fire areas when it's so close to everyone else, or Yin Yin in Grand Cafe, because it is a problem. Like, that's going to be dealing with certain very strong factions from the very beginning. And this only happens because the map is really congested in its own right. What needs to happen here, and I've been saying it for ages, is a proper map expansion to allow for areas to be opened up. Not even if there's going to be those races like Ind, Koresh, and so on. I think the ship has sailed long ago for Ind and Koresh as possible race packs. Just call it a feeling. I don't know why, but I don't think it's happening. But those areas being there and not being looked into, hell, you know, the Cathayan hinterlands basically just being Cathayan hinterlands rather than it being part of Koresh. Something needs to be done and move some characters around. You know, like Arbal can be moved into Indo-Koresh because that's what he does lore-wise. Takala could be pushed a little bit down south. It's just easier to get that movement going. In a perfect world, we've had the Immortal Empires expanded map, but that's not going to happen. There would be too much development cost in a game that is only getting small DLCs, and that just won't be able to justify massive pushes. But opening up Ind and Koresh and maybe just filling up the north parts could work. They'd have to do that during big DLC launches, but that would have to be during big DLCs, right? But I don't imagine End Times doing a map expansion because they're going to be so busy with Devastation and all the other stuff that they've talked about in the past. So it's very strange. Obviously, we have been noticing that essentially Warhammer 3 is getting less budget, but Shiva was very clear on that, right? Like, just what was happening with that DLC was very, very clear. But they could do some sort of gradual expansion. Essentially, during DLCs, if they still have some, like, 1v1s at the very least to release, maybe just opening up section by section. Like if they did DLCs focused on races that don't need reworks or updates, yeah, that could be done. They could open up Ind, they could open up Koresh, maybe even part of it just to start off with. That depends if Creative Assembly sees that they're going to still make decent money from this. But with the Immortal Empires expanded map, it felt really good just to kind of move up. The expansion up to the Northern Chaos Wastes really helps the map just with all the Chaos factions not to be constantly fighting. Kosoon is nothing, but considering that Kosoon has been named officially from Games Workshop, you'd think that that would be mapped out enough for Games Workshop to allow Creative Assembly just to open it up. There definitely needs to be a conversation about that with Creative Assembly, and people need to ask for it. Respectfully, of course, don't be aggressive. The problem is that Creative Assembly need to talk about a lot of stuff that they've promised that they're going to do in the past. You know, Bretonnia reworks and the rest, and nothing's really been talked about just yet. Hell, there's reworks that have been actively named in blogs and haven't really been done, where they said that they were going to do a trait rework and the rest. It's just weird, right? I get that they're pulled thin and the majority of people are probably on the End Times right now and then likely going to push into 40k, but yeah, I don't know. I still feel like this this game can still be profitable and they can have multiple active titles, which would make a lot of sense. I guess we're going to have to see. I just want to keep the conversation on the map going so people keep actually reminding CA because, you know, they don't respond to a lot of stuff, right? Unless people are constantly talking about it. It just feels like every DLC we're going to have this conversation and it's going to happen again. With the End Times coming, it's going to happen again for sure. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. Discussion is, of course, very, very healthy. I will be a little bit sporadic with content for the next few coming days because I'm going to UK Games Expo. So, yeah, I'm going to try and keep as consistent as possible, but I am running around. I'm trying to meet up with some companies and, you know, get the usual networking stuff done with other creators. Fun times, fun times. I'm going to Birmingham. I mean, feel bad for me, right? I'll see you guys all soon. Have a good one. Bye.